I want to welcome you all to the Retro Rogues Live. This is our warning graphic. Please realize that the Retro Rogues Live show is intended for an adult audience and not intended for children under the age of 13. Parental discretion is advised. So for those of you that have been watching the Retro Rogues Live for a while, you may notice that there are some additional faces that you may not be all that familiar with today. And of course, you might be wondering why Dave introduced the show. Well, Dave is on vacation, so I went ahead and asked a couple friends of mine to help out with the show. I, of course, am Eric Alexander, also known as Bass God 14. That's Bass God 14, not Bass God 14. That's Bass God, like a bass guitar. And I am the Chief Financial Officer of Bad Bob Productions. I am also the executive producer on a film called Staycation, which has been filming primarily in California, but pretty much all over the world via Zoom. And I would like to introduce one of my first guest co-hosts today, PJ from Orville Nation. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and also let people know what Orville Nation is all about?
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Bass God. And I always say Bass God myself.
Eric's fine too.
Let me just say, before I introduce myself, I hope Bob and I make it through the show because we're both red shirts. But I hope we do.
That's true. That's true. That wasn't even planned.
I do the, you guys know I do the Orville Nation community. Guys, we all grow together. And we are also part of the Retro Rogues family. And we're excited to be part here. Participating in this Retro Rogue stream. So thank you, Eric and Dave. Thank you, Eric.
And we're very excited to have you. We appreciate you helping fill in with Dave being on vacation. A much well-earned vacation, I must say. So I hope Dave is enjoying himself and isn't thinking about anything else except enjoying himself off in Hawaii right now. So I would also like to introduce my partner in crime, so to speak, the Chief Executive Officer of Bad Bob Productions, Director Robert Mcveigh. Robert, would you like to talk a little bit about Bad Bob and some of your experiences maybe in Staycation?
Not really, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. But so here's the deal. Dave, if you're watching out there, because I sure hope you are, God help you. Okay, because it's going down right now. Okay. So anyways, my name is Robert Mcveigh. I'm the CEO of Bad Bob Productions. We do it all. Film, music, whatever, anything you want, we do it all. Film it all. So anything you're ready to do, we got it. I'm real happy to be on the show tonight. Talk about a lot of stuff that's happening right now live out there as we speak. Man, I'll tell you what, especially the Orville. Man, I can't wait to start talking about that. That was one of my favorite shows. Matter of fact, it still is. And I couldn't believe when it went off. And now I have to, and here I am on the show talking about it. It's awesome. I dig it. But anyways, here I am. Dave, God help you. But here we go. Thank you.
Well, of course, that is going to be one of our major show topics today. That's one of the reasons that PJ's on the show. We are going to be talking about the rumors of the Orville being canceled. That's been circulating out there in the ether. We're also going to be talking about the new James Bond film, which PJ has actually seen. Robert and I have not seen it yet, but PJ is going to give us a little bit of a spoiler-free review of the latest James Bond film. We're also going to be talking about some of the delays going on at Disney. There's numerous film projects that have been delayed if you haven't heard about it. And then also we're going to be talking about the Challenge film that was being filmed at the International Space Station. That's an update from a previous episode of the Retro Rogues where we talked about when they first went into space. And so we're going to be giving you an update on that. I do want to get to the Rogues Gallery. We've got some comments already. Jane is in the house. She says, hey, guys. Jane, by the way, is Dave's mom, guys. That's Dave's mom. Jane, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate the fact that you're here, even though Dave is not. Thank you, Jane. You're like obviously our number one supporter. We really appreciate it, Jane, that you're here. And again, I appreciate the fact that you're here when your son's not. Gap is in the house. Gap has got some real good insight. I hope he sticks around. Gap Stargate is there on YouTube, and he says, hail, Eric, Scott, Bob, John, Joe.
Same thing.
Yeah, we got some extra faces on here, Gap.
It's the same thing.
But Gap has some great insight. I hope he sticks around because he always has some good things to talk about. Always has like good insight, good questions, things of that nature. So hail to you, Gap Stargate. We appreciate you being in the house. Maria with T and Telly. I know this is a collaborator of yours, right, PJ? She's in the house right now.
Hey,
Maria. Hey, Maria. Hello, Mistress Vampira. She is going to be the next Elvira, or I don't know how that character is going to evolve. We'll see.
Nice.
Well, nice. I'll tell you. That's actually a good segue. We can't talk much about it, but as folks may know who have been following the show, we are in the midst of a format change, and the reason for that format change is that Dave, Robert, and myself are coming up with a new project. And it's going to debut essentially as a comic book, and we're going to be sort of making it, in front of your eyes, this new project. But along those lines, with Bad Bob Productions, and one of the things that we're sort of adding to it is we've already been in negotiations with a local FX designer about taking some of these designs and making them real. And so that's something that I think Maria in particular, you might be looking forward to, because I would definitely say this project is sci-fi horror. I mean, what do you think, Robert? Obviously, you're one of the co-creators. Yeah. Would you agree that it's pretty much like sci-fi horror is what we're kind of going for?
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, just what it looks like. I wish we could show it. I mean, it's just fantastic. I mean, I did not or wasn't expecting to see photos like that when I first saw it. And but just to let a lot of you guys know out there, a lot of you fans out there, stuff's coming your way. So just hang tight.
Yeah, and for those of you that maybe have watched some of the previous episodes in the last 3 weeks, you've seen Dave doing artwork on the show live. If you're new to the show, please check out the repeats, and you can just hit the highlights if you want. But the last 3 shows, Dave did a live inking of Delenn from Babylon 5 about 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he did a drawing of Venom live on the air. And then the last show, he did one of the immortal Captain Kirk as a tribute to his, William Shatner's actual voyage into space. So if you haven't seen those, check them out. That is part of the whole new format change. And of course, Robert, Bad Bob Productions is part of the format change because he's going to have an open invitation to come on the show since he is one of the co-creators of this new project.
Cool.
Awesome. I'm excited. Wow.
And we want Orville Nation definitely to be coming alongside us. We definitely want to be involved on the show and have PJ on our show talking about this new project and some of his thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So we're really looking forward to it. And Gap, he says a comment. He says, yes, watching Dave draw live is amazing. And it really is. It's a treat to behold. One thing about Dave Beatty is that he worked for DC, he worked for Marvel, he's worked at the top of the business, and now he's going to be working with Bad Bob Productions, which means he's really going up in the world. So
can I add something about Dave?
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Dave was on Orville Nation, and we interviewed him. Well, he was awesome. He was also drawing while we interviewed him briefly, and then he was drawing while we were talking about other stuff. And he came up with these like right on the spot. He came up with these amazing alternate characters for the Orville universe. I was like, wow, Dave is talented.
He's awesome. He is. He's badass.
He is like one of the top people in the industry.
And Maria with also says, yes, I've seen Dave drawing live. So amazing. We appreciate that comment, Maria.
Yes, Maria.
If you haven't seen it, you need to. And like I said, you can also, if you haven't had a chance, you can go back and watch the previous episodes from the last 3 weeks because he did a different character all those last couple of weeks. And Jane, of course, says, I've always enjoyed and learned when Dave draws. So she was there at the beginning, so she knows. All right, so PJ, obviously Orville Nation's in the house. We've got to talk about the Orville. We've got to talk about these rumors about the Orville being canceled. Come on. Where are these rumors coming from, and what's the scoop?
I actually thought in a few minutes we could maybe even listen to the reasons that people are saying this. We had to sit on it for a whole bunch of months because back in May, first Scott Grimes came out and said on a podcast, and we'll share that. I mean, if you want, do you want it to share the audio? It's only like a little clip.
Sure.
I think you'll
Do
be
it.
okay.
Yeah, we can
Do
share
it.
it.
Let me just bring it up while we do that. And so Scott Grimes said in May that it was probably the last season, and they wanted to do some movies.
Interesting.
And so
I had not heard that.
Now this came to me through our friend Tink from Orville 24/7, which you guys should all be following. And so we heard about it like right after it happened, but we wanted to not to give it attention because we thought it was an opinion more than fact. Right. So about 10 days ago, Adrienne, by the way, who is Scott's ex-wife, this is a very tight-knit group of people we're talking about. They're all friends and they're all professional. They're all work together. Adrienne actually said it's the last season in a short podcast, in a very brief statement. And that really just, poured gasoline onto a match. And so now, since then, I will show the you can share if you want. We can look at the tweet that Tom Costantino, co-producer of the Orville, put out since then. Tom took time out from his post-production tasks, and I will share that if you think we should share it.
Absolutely.
Here it is. Okay. So Tom Costantino wrote on what day was it? October 14th. He wrote. You guys can see that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can see it.
He says, "Hey folks, been editing all day, but despite some misinformation to the contrary, the Orville season 4 is still to be determined. It will depend on audience appetite and the season 3 response, so anything can happen." And that's basically the same reason we didn't talk about it in May when Scott brought it up, because this is hanging in the air. It also may be a way to gauge the audience response. It could also be mirroring what TOS went through, and the fans had to come back and support for more. Right. They may be wanting to stimulate fans this way, and at the same time, they may be also trying to negotiate with Hulu for more money, or there's a whole other possibility with Peacock because Seth has a multi-million-dollar contract with Peacock. So that's kind of the gist of it, Eric and Bob.
Yeah, those rumors I know have been persistent ever since he made the deal with Universal, and there was all sorts of speculation that basically, the Orville was done. But, I've always thought that, maybe possibly, depending on how Orville season 3 does on Hulu, it might wind up migrating to Peacock or something like that. I think that's definitely a possibility. You just really never know. How much interest does Disney really have in the Orville? We really don't know at this point because it wasn't a Disney project. It's something that they inherited, when they bought Fox, when they bought the Fox studios.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, longer they hold us back from the public, man, I'll tell you what, it better be a good show when they finally release it. Because there's been other shows out there that I've watched that we waited. And then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. The time. We're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like, that could have been a little bit better there. And I couldn't believe it, especially this show, because when they hit it, it was awesome. I mean, It was awesome, and they better keep it up. I'll tell you that. Or I'll just turn the damn TV right off. Go to another show, and that's the end of it. Yep.
The internal opinions from because they're only letting obviously people who've worked on it watch it. I mean, the internal opinion is that it's going to be the average episode is going to be on par with Identity 1 and 2, which is a lot.
Yes,
well,
yes.
I agree with Rob in the sense that because of the delays, it's almost like it's more anticipated, and there kind of is additional pressure because they haven't kind of kept that momentum, if you will. They do kind of have to knock it out of the ballpark. You know what I mean? Especially, I've said this other times on the air, but for like new viewers, I came into Stargate like mid-season 2, and I think everybody agrees it really started to shine at that point. I didn't watch the first season except for little parts here and there, and I came in like mid-season 2, and I was blown away. And I wasn't just blown away at the show, although I was. But I was also blown away at the community. I remember hashtagging, the Orville when it came out, and the episodes were live, so to speak. And I had the greatest time communicating with other Orville fans, many of which, of course, are classic Star Trek fans. And I felt accepted. And quite frankly, right now with Star Trek, it's a crap show. I mean, some of the fans are so toxic in Star Trek right now because the fandom is so divided. The Orville was just like a breath of fresh air to me. It was like a breath of fresh air. And I've been highly anticipating the comeback of the show to see where they are going to go with this. And can they top, the ending of the last season? Because they really need to.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
they
right.
really need to, because like Robert was saying, there's been such a long delay.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to listen to the actual words of Scott and Adrian?
Yeah, why don't you bring that up? We got a couple comments. We got a couple comments from the Rogues Gallery.
Let me know. I have it up. You let me know when you want it.
So we've got Hollywood Jackson's in the house. He says, hi, guys. Hi, Miss Jane. Hollywood is a very loyal member of the Rogues Gallery. And Hollywood, if you're wondering, of course, Dave is on vacation. So we've got Robert Mcveigh, my partner from Bad Bob Productions. We've got PJ from Orville Nation filling in today. Dave will be back next week. So we appreciate your comments. And Hollywood, for people that don't know, is a musician. Hollywood, if you want to promote any of your stuff on the stream, let us know, because I know you've got an album out. So he is a big friend and a big member of the Rogues Gallery.
Wait a minute, hold on. Did you say musician?
I did say musician.
Oh no! Yeah. Hey, you guys need a drummer out there?
For those that don't know, the way that Robert and I actually originally met was we were in a band together. That's why I call myself Bass God, is because I used to play bass in a band, and Robert was the drummer. So again, that's not Bass God, it's Bass God, and that's why. That's the story behind the name. Gap has a good comment here. He says, the Orville must survive. It is the closest thing we have to the spirit of Star Trek.
That's right.
And Gap, I think so many fans agree
nice
with
job.
you. So many fans agree with you. And that's what made the appeal for me. The episode I came in was the one where Isaac was dating the doctor. And it reminded me so much of the episode of The Next Generation where Data dated a woman for the first time. And I love the Orville's take on it, because they didn't do the same thing as what happened with Data. And I just felt like, hey, I'm comfortable here. I understand what they're doing here. I really enjoyed it. Nate Knows Reviews. He's in the house. He says, what's up, guys? What's up, Nate?
What's up?
Appreciate you being out there. Please feel free to comment on the topics. We'd like to give some love to the Rogues Gallery out there and make sure we make you part of the show. And he has a hashtag. He says, we need the Orville, renew the Orville.
Yeah.
Right, PJ? That's what you want to hear, right?
Yes.
Absolutely, because we can't become complacent. Seth has got, I think we can talk about it later. I think Seth has a big, huge master plan, but he needs us to come out and support. We need to show up. Fans need to show up.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want me? I'll call him up if you want. Hey, I got connections.
Well, it's just like Tom said, right? He's also one of the showrunners, right, of the Orville, and it's all going to be based on audience reaction, right? I mean, even if they say this is the last season, if they get a great reaction, do you really think they're not going to make more? I mean, they're just going to leave that money on the table? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think that's even possible. I mean, it could be that Seth wants to do other things. He definitely is one of those guys. It's all over the place, But to me, it's like, if it's successful, they're going to want to continue it. It's just it's a no-brainer, right? As long as the audience is supporting it. I don't think they're going to cancel it.
Well, let me tell you something else too. And PJ, yeah, get ready for. I'd love to hear that stuff that you have, by the way. So, but I just want to throw in something real quick. They're lucky I ain't running the show down there because I'd have some asses right now. Let me tell you, they need to get this on the screen so everybody can watch it, and let's get on with it because it's a $1 billion show. So let's pay them what they're worth, get it rocking. Let's go. And Hollywood right now is not really happening too much right now. A lot of people are kind of pissed at him. Because,
Robert, go ahead, finish your thought. Sorry.
No, they have, it's the same stuff over and over and over, and they might add some little tweaks to it here and there. And it's actually kind of bothering me. The movies are just, the Marvel movies, yeah, they're pretty cool, but it seems like they're stuck in that, and these big box office movies, come on. And then now that the Orville is out, it should have been out a lot more than what it has. They're losing money, and they're sucking down a big black hole right now. So,
and you're right, Robert, because Hollywood in general, is struggling, and a lot of that is because of the pandemic. You and I, we had our experience filming with Staycation in Burbank.
Yeah,
at an actual studio, literally in Hollywood, and we had to deal with those COVID restrictions. And I'll tell you, it's no joke.
It sucked.
It is no joke, and it put us over budget. It put the project over budget. That's why there had to be a crowdfunding campaign and all that kind of stuff, and it put us way over budget. So it's no joke. It's no joke. Nate Knows Review says the Orville is good sci-fi, and we really need good sci-fi these days. And I agree with you, Nate. We really do. And Nate, I don't know where you fall on this. I don't know if you're a classic Trek fan. I've been really disappointed in New Trek myself. Dave actually likes a lot of New Trek. I think he likes Discovery. He hated Picard, though. He agreed with me that Picard was terrible. But he likes Discovery. I think he's even started to like Lower Decks. I'm kind of done with all that stuff for me. But I feel like we are deprived of good sci-fi these days. And to me, the Orville was really the only thing that was really kind of appealing to me, for the last couple years, really.
PJ,
Can I ask Robert a question? Because I know Robert and I haven't engaged before. Let me ask both you guys this question. We talked about it this week on our channel. Do you guys think that Seth will ultimately build as big or even a larger universe that like Star Trek has built? Like, will the Orville universe be a great big expanding universe?
Yeah, if they leave him alone, yeah. I mean, once you crush somebody's mind like that, and he's crazy. That guy will think up stuff all day long, and why not? I hate to say it, but I'll say it. I'm like him. I'm not famous. I don't make a lot of money, but I think of stuff continuously and cool stuff all the time. But if you just crush me down and hold me back, I'll forget about all that stuff. Even though I'm still thinking kind of about a few things. Everybody else out there in the public, they're going to wash away too.
What do you think it was like, Robert, for him when he went to CBS and they said, "No, Seth, you can't have Star Trek"? What do you think that was like? They just planted a seed right there.
Well, do we have any blurps on here so I can say some few words? Because let me tell you something. They stuck some stuff way deep up in that dude, and they didn't pull it back out right away. And I'm sure he didn't feel very good. And if I were him, I would do what I had to do, dealing with whoever he's dealing with, and just cut the strings, and then go on to somebody else that has the power string to pull, and live a whole different comedy and take it somewhere else and watch the I don't know if it's a woman or a guy running the whole show over there, but watch them lose hundreds of millions of dollars quick. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
And maybe Eric can show that picture just to remind everybody who we're dealing with here.
Right.
I mean, this is somebody who asked to be on Enterprise.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
ahead,
a shame because, Seth had that relationship where he had been, on a Star Trek show, and clearly it wasn't something that he needed to do. It was something that he wanted to do, as a fan, being a Trekkie himself. And then to kind of be slapped in the face when he came up with his Star Trek pitch. And then I just think it's awesome that he said, okay, well, screw you. I'll make the show anyway.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You don't like my pitch? I'll just take Star Trek out of the name and I'll make it anyway. And I'll make a parody. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now?
I dare say, is it going to be even better than Star Trek? I'm starting to think parts of it are better than Star Trek.
Yeah, I think what the Orville has is that it can build upon that foundation. And I feel like with a lot of new Trek, they've discarded that foundation. Like that foundation has been thrown in the garbage. And what Seth is doing or has been doing with the Orville is he's been building on that positive vision of the future. You know what I mean?
He has to. Yeah.
And that's where new Trek really, really lacks. We do have a couple comments from the Rogues Gallery. We've got a little inside joke from Hollywood Jackson. He's talking about the Picardinator. Hollywood likes to tease me all the time because he knows how much I hated Picard. Hey, if you guys ever want to check it out, Dave and I reviewed every episode of Picard for 10 weeks, and it was horrible. But I'll tell you, we had a lot of views back then being negative, which kills me because I don't want this show to be about that. But we had a lot more views when we were negative complaining about Picard, I think, than we ever had in the show. Gap Stargate says, don't get me started on Discovery. And I yawned during Picard. So Gap has even taken it a step farther, saying Picard bored him. You know what I mean? So
it's interesting. Dave thought Picard was worse than Discovery. That's interesting to me.
Well, Dave actually likes like the second season of Discovery. He likes Anson Mount as Pike, which I think. Yeah, I think we can agree that as far as new Trek, that's probably what Trek fans have embraced the most is Anson Mount's version of Captain Pike.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Incidentally, I just have to mention this since Rob is here on the air. We've worked with the second Captain Pike, Sean Kenny, who of course was the classic Captain Pike in the wheelchair. Sean Kenny is in Staycation, so we actually got to work with him. Even he told us some stories.
Awesome.
Told us some stories, about like Lucille Ball visiting the set, which I never thought she was really active, on Star Trek, but apparently she was more active.
Yeah, I heard she visited.
That's what Sean said. Sean said that she would actually come on the set and stuff like that.
Can you guys interview Sean someday?
She'd be smoking and with gravelly voice and all that kind of stuff. Hey, what is this guy with the ears? You know what I mean? What's going on? That kind of a thing. So he's a great guy, and I would love to have him on the show sometime. But he is getting up in years a little bit. I'll just say that. You know what I mean? He is still very vibrant and healthy.
Well, he does like to he likes to bullshit and party. So
yeah, he does. He does. He likes to talk. He's got lots of stories. He's got lots of.
That's what I wanted to say. He likes to talk about the past a lot.
But he also. I should throw that out there, but Sean also, more than acting at this point, he's actually got into writing, and he actually wants to write more. And that is a tough transition from acting to writing. You know what I mean? And I know that's something that he's been actively pursuing because he talked with you, Robert, a lot about that, about writing and things like that.
Well, he wants to hook up. So PJ, if you want to, maybe one of these days, we give him a call, go hang out with him in Cali, and just tear it up and have a good time.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
count me in.
Yeah.
And actually, I've been talking to PJ about getting Russ, our director, on Orville Nation because Russ has got tons of stories of working with Star Trek actors.
Love to meet Russ.
And a lot of the Orville Nation are again Trek fans, obviously, and they're going to eat up some of those stories.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Nate Knows Reviews says, I grew up on original Star Trek and new Trek. It's terrible. It's science fiction without the science and no imagination or heart.
That's so
Nate,
true.
Those are bold words, but I think you're right on the money there. I think
Yep.
you're right.
He's cruising on it. Yep. That's right.
And Gap went back to, I think, my Peacock comment. He says, my concerns are Peacock. They tend to cancel science fiction shows very quickly. They didn't even give the show Debris a chance, and it had over 5 million viewers a week, I believe. Well, that's impressive. So they had 5, because that's better than CW numbers, I'll tell you that. CW numbers I've seen CW numbers that are like 500,000. Sometimes I wonder how CW shows are even on the air. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty impressive numbers if they were at 5 million views a week and they canceled that. I never saw Debris, by the way. Did you see that one? Either one of you, PJ or Rob? Did you ever see
Bits and Pieces?
Bits and Pieces, PJ?
Yeah.
No, not me.
That's one that I never got a chance to see. But now you've got me interested, Gap. Maybe I need to check it out. I imagine it's still up there as far as reruns. So maybe I should check it out.
I have a question for Robert, actually, if I may.
Sure.
Did I interrupt you, Eric?
Not at all.
If you could share this picture, Eric, and actually this is for both of you. Because what do you guys think about the fact that on the bridge of the Orville, they were actually watching NBC's Seinfeld? And the fact that all these, and this is Jason Alexander, obviously behind the bar.
Right.
What about the fact that we have all these NBC veterans like Ted Danson and Jason and Norm Macdonald involved with Seth? I personally think that Seth has always had a lot of friends over there, especially through the comedy aspect of NBC. Yeah. And I think that I would not be surprised if he had been planning this out for a while. And even one day, if he doesn't get the money he needs from Hulu, you could see the Orville be a flagship show for Peacock. What do you guys feel about all these little cameos from NBC actors on the Orville?
It's all, well, Eric, you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all about being funny. It's about dragging in more humor into the show. It's those are some of the best comics, and not just in our time, but my God, just all time. I mean, even to this day, even new people that see it, they laugh because it's funny. And I think there's more to it. Yeah, of course. You had to show him, right, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I think he does a great job as an admiral or whatever.
Yeah,
I dig him. You know,
there's another story that I'll bring up here in a few minutes about him, but in Cheers, something we're working with Dave with maybe later,
right?
Sometime in the future. You know what? He has something in the works. You can see it on his face. There's all those comedians using old reels like that. Yeah, it's he had to get out the funny stuff now for sure to keep that show running, and that was smart of bringing in. I can't say local or not local. That's the wrong word, but recent, because the Orville. What year was supposedly that show? Them going into space. I can't remember.
Oh, like the start date?
Yeah.
It's at the same time as Picard, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Which is funny, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
They're just like they're a few years off.
Okay, so But even Picard, I mean, Picard, he'd talk about Moby Dick and he'd talk about the books that he read. And, he'd bring back culture from Earth. Well, Seth was bringing back the funnies from Earth, and which is even
Pop
better.
culture from Earth.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my look on it right there.
Yeah, I said it before. I definitely think that there is a scenario, especially with Seth's deal with Universal, that the Orville could wind up on Peacock. Part of it really what it really has to do with is how interested Disney is in the Orville. This is a property they inherited, through the buyout with Fox. And to me, it all comes down to, is there an advocate at Disney, at Hulu, for the Orville? Or is it just sort of like a legacy project they really don't care about? That's what the real question is in my mind. And I think the Peacock would be crazy not to be interested in the Orville. You know what I mean? I just think it would be insane for them not to be interested in it.
Yeah. There has to be somebody. Seth is playing to somebody at the top, and if either him or her is not going to bite, somebody else is going to bite on it. And when they do, boy, it's going to be a mess for whoever didn't say yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there'll be somebody that'll lose their job, So.
Oh yeah.
Maria had a good comment. She says it's rare to watch the first episodes and be hooked. The Orville is one of those rare ones. It didn't take years to get popular. It was instant love.
That's right.
And I think that's the experience for a lot of people, Maria. The first episode they watched, like I said, I came into it later, but the first full episode I watched, I was hooked. I was just like, I feel like I'm home.
Blown away. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Maria.
And PJ, you put in the chat there that the date is 24/18 when the Orville begins. 24/18.
That's not bad at all. It's only a few years from now. well, for me it
is. Did you, before we stray too far away, did you guys want to hear the Scott's comments and Adrian's comments?
Yes.
Yeah, let's hear Scott's comments.
Okay. By the way, I'm going to throw the link in the chat. I'm taking this from our friends, the Pop Guys stream, and I'm going to put the link for that stream in the chat. Okay, here we go. These are Scott's comments from the Randy Disher podcast. Randy Disher is an actor on Monk.
For everybody in the industry, it's been tough. But we found a rhythm again. I think we'll see.
Now, when you guys come back again? Now, you guys switched. You switched. You were on Fox for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Now you guys have switched over to Hulu. Yeah. And when are we to expect it? When's everybody out there to expect it?
I was going to ask you. No, what he does, Seth, is we have to finish filming before he really even starts editing.
Yeah. So sometime in 2025, we're going to see the third season of Orville.
Yeah, I would say by Christmas. Yeah. I'd say it's a Christmas release for season 3 because we're going to be done in July. And then, I would say keep your fingers crossed for Christmas. And it's going to most likely the last season because we're kind of wrapping it up. And then hopefully maybe we'll do some movies. That's my wish and his wish.
So, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty. When we heard that in May, people were like, "Whoa!"
Where'd you hear that at?
That is I'm going to put the link in. It's the Randy Disher podcast. Hold on. I'm putting it I'll put the private chat first, and I'll put it on the. And by the way, guys, he says. By the way, he says, "I think we'll be out by Christmas." I personally think that the fact that they're going to be out in March may have something to do with the anticipation of the strike.
The anticipation of which strike?
They anticipated that there might be a strike.
Okay, at the time you're saying
they gave it a few more months. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And
well, that's also the quarterly budget too. April, the end of April.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Hollywood. Hollywood goes in sections of they're in quarters. Yeah, we'll just say that.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Adrian's comments. You want to listen real quick? They're shorter. And Adrian, and I'm gonna put that in the link, Robert, right now in the back, and then I'm gonna put it in the chat too. These are Adrian's comments. Again, I'm gonna put the link into this stream and to the original stream itself.
I already got the link up there.
Oh,
so
okay. Thanks, sir.
For the last one, not for this one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Get your Kleenex, everybody.
That's Brian. That's our friend Brian from Popcast Guys saying, "Get your Kleenex, everybody."
I know you just wrapped on the 3rd season of Orville. Is there anything you can tell us about it at the moment?
No, it's honestly so secretive considering that it takes 7 years for it to come out, to film and then to actually come out. Like, it's not going to be out until 2022, and it is our final season.
Oh wow!
So
Well, that's kind of an end of an era.
yeah, I mean, I'll miss everyone. That was definitely a family for sure. We spent so much time together on that ship.
Yeah.
That thank God we loved each other.
All right. So Palicki, thank you.
So that's the Clear Eyes, Full Hearts podcast, and I'll try to put in the link for that. So that she doesn't say anything else.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can understand. I never heard either one of those podcasts, so I'm kind of like I'm almost like just jaw drop kind of thing. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
especially hearing the comment like they kind of said, oh well, that was always the plan or something like that. I'm sure that wasn't always the plan, by the way, because I think the plan was to stay on Fox. That was the original plan. It was never to go on Hulu. But it's hard for me to imagine that if they have a good response and clearly the audience is behind the show, that they would cancel it. It just seems like, why would you leave all that money on the table?
Exactly. Yeah, it don't make sense. Like I told you, if I was down there, my foot would be up somebody's butt right now. I'll tell you what.
We did have a couple comments. Nate says, Disney may want to hold on to the Orville because it will be the closest thing to having control over Star Wars and Star Trek. By the way, Nate, just to throw more gasoline on the fire, there's always that persistent rumor that what is it? It's Viacom CBS now, I think is the official name. Or CBS, is it CBS Viacom or Viacom CBS? I always get confused. That's the official company name for Paramount and CBS. And there's always those persistent rumors, actually, that they may even be looking to sell Star Trek. Those rumors are out there. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with that?
Wow.
Yeah. The rumor is that one of the reasons there's so many Star Trek shows happening is because they kind of want to give this illusion that Star Trek is just rocking and rolling and doing really great because they want to sell it. That's the rumor. And that is pure rumor, but it's out there. And then Gap said, agree, PJ, about the strike. Disney's delaying production on some big films lately. And I actually had seen the workers union, which I can't recall the acronym right off the top of my head. It's actually called like the Theatrical Unions Work Guild or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
They recently just made a deal. They recently just hammered out a deal. Now it still has to be voted by the members, but they recently made a deal so that they could continue working. And I wish I could remember the acronym off the top of my head. But I know that was a significant sort of cloud over Hollywood, was whether the workers, we're talking about like the grips, the electricians, the gaffers, those kind of people, they were looking at striking. And the last I heard was they actually did make a deal, but it still has to be voted upon by the members of the union.
Well, yeah, I saw a bunch of that. And let me tell you, they're working them 12 hours a day, maybe 15.
Probably more.
They are. They're working them almost.
Especially now because they've got to catch up.
Well, they do, but
they've got so much stuff backlogged. You know what I mean? So
they, I don't know if you know how much these guys make. But they make a lot of money. I mean, I got guys that are sound guys and grips that are in Hollywood working every day to this day. And I follow them. I ask them questions about certain things to help my career. And they're doing fine. They're working a lot. What it is, you know, I don't want to say stuff that pisses people off, but so I'll try to be nice about a few words here. It's hard for me to do that. And it seems like they want to be patted on the back a little bit more, maybe rubbed, you know, a little rub on the shoulders a little bit and some more water. And because right now, like you said, they need to play catch up. And so now it's time to get to work. And they're making a lot of money. For them to go on strike, yeah, they got their lawyers and all that stuff. It's all that Hollywood stuff, you know. It's really stupid. And it'll get back. It'll be back in this swing real soon. It's like I said, they just want some more people to rub their backs and give some more water. That's about what it's coming down to.
Well, Gap. I love the Rogues Gallery sometimes because they always keep us honest. I was talking about the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Gap. And I had read that article that they are hammering out a deal. Again, it still needs to be voted on by the members, but that's hopefully coming. Nate mentioned my comment about the possible sale of Star Trek. He said it's like putting a coat of paint on a broken down car just to sell it.
Yeah.
English reviews. I really like that because that is a good analogy to the rumor that's out there. And again, it's just rumor. I'm not claiming any inside knowledge of that, but there's been a lot of buzz about the possible sale of Star Trek.
And hail to the author of the Phantom Menace, Stephen Walton, in the chat.
Oh, right on.
Oh,
there we go. He says hail the chat. So hail to you, nice. author Stephen Walton. It's good to see you in the chat.
Yes. Nice.
Now here we go. Nate also says if Viacom CBS sells Star Trek, maybe Seth MacFarlane might buy the rights. I know. I've heard that. I think you've heard that scenario too, haven't you, PJ? I think that was a rumor.
We've talked a lot about that on Latchcomb. Yeah, Klingons versus Moklins.
There we go. Yeah,
Data versus Isaac.
That would be really funny because that would be interesting. Like there's so much multiverse stuff going on with both DC and Marvel right now. You could actually probably have like a multiverse. You know what I mean? Where you had the Orville and Star Trek coexisting in some fashion. You know what I mean? It would almost be just like the mirror universe or something like, along those lines. It's just like another parallel universe, except, in the parallel universe, it's Orville. And then, there's this sort of Star Trek Prime universe, if you will,
Can I ask you and Robert my last Orville question?
Sure.
Go ahead.
In the picture I'm sharing with Eric right now, if he wants to share it, you guys know, obviously, that Favreau was involved in the launching of the Orville. He was involved with season 1. There's a lot of indications to me that the ideas to build this big, great, expanded universe were with Seth from the very beginning. How significant is it that Favreau was involved with the launching of the Orville? What do you guys think?
Eric, you might want to answer that one.
Well, it doesn't really surprise me. Because we've seen with like the Mandalorian that I think Favreau really understands. You go farther than that. Go to Iron Man. To Iron Man, right? Exactly. This guy understands genre better than I think most people in the industry do because he's an actual fan. You know what I mean? He actually knows the essence of these characters. Yeah. I've said it on the show before, and I'll say it again. I always thought of Iron Man as a D tier character. You know, he was never prominent in my mind. I always thought of him as a ripoff of Batman, a cheap ripoff of Batman. But I tell you, when I saw Iron Man the movie and saw Roddy Downey Jr. in the role, I mean, I was hooked, just like everybody else. I think everybody else who loves this kind of stuff. And it doesn't surprise me that Favreau would be involved with this, because I think he gets it. You know, for lack of a better, there's no other way to really put it. He gets it in a way that I think most Hollywood types, they don't. You know, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something from actually filming with Star Trek actors and things like that. And I'm not going to name names, but a lot of these guys are not fans. They're not fans. It's a job to them. It's a paycheck to them.
It's weird.
They are not fans. They are not your friends. You know what I mean? I'm just going to put it that way. If you're a big fan, if you're into like the lore, like I am, if you're into continuity, canon, by the way, those are interchangeable terms. Continuity and canon are the same thing. They're the same basic concept. If you're into those kinds of things, a lot of these people that work on these shows, they're not. They could care less. And I don't feel like, you know, especially seeing The Mandalorian, actually, I don't feel like Favreau falls into that category. I think he gets it. You know, he has a legitimate love of these things.
Wow. Yeah, I agree.
And just to remind everybody that if this last picture I want to share with Eric, Favreau is not just a director or producer. He is also, you know, an actor, and most very memorable roles that he's played.
Yeah.
And he gets like Eric said, he gets all aspects of the business.
One of my favorite movies, by the way. I
Isn't
own
it?
this one, and I make a point on this show that I do not have an extensive DVD collection. Rudy's in my DVD collection. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. I actually met Sean Austin once. I should talk about the story again sometime. Very cool. He was very cool when I met him. But yeah, that's a good point. He is a director who basically started out acting, right? Much like Clint Eastwood. You know what I mean? I'll make that comparison. Why not? You know what I mean? So.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven's comment, speaking the truth, I always felt, Steven, that you and Eric and Dave, especially Eric, that you should connect with Eric on some level, because you guys have a lot in common. Just saying that.
Yeah, and I appreciate your comments, Steven. We really appreciate you being part of the show and joining us today. We love having like an active, robust chat. I know you have your own channel as well, and you do some stuff. I think primarily with Sporking, right? Sporking and him work together quite a bit, right? Am I correct, BJ?
Yeah. Well, he has his own channel, and I'm going to put up Steven's channel right now in case anybody is not subbed to it. They should.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we like to support other creators on this channel. That's definitely what it's all about. Robert creates content. I create content. Robert and I create content together. Dave creates content. So, as I mentioned, this show is going to be all about some of the content that we've been creating. That's going to be part of the format change coming very, very soon. I do have to say this, Eric.
You guys, the other connection between you guys is that you both have shows called Rogue something.
Right.
And Steve has the Rogue Entertainment. So just
there you go. We're all rogues here, you know, in some fashion. We did have a comment from one of our very loyal Rogues Gallery folks, which is David Motz. Hey, David, I don't have to get confused about the two Davids because the other David's not here. So but usually we just say Motz so we don't get confused. He says, maybe we'll get a movie. So, you know, we were talking about that earlier, about the fact that they have talked about that, about the possibility of an Orville movie, that may have been the plan all along. We don't know, but those are the comments we were just talking about, and we did share the link on that. So,
and David, by the way, episodes are going to be on average 70 minutes long. It's going to be like a mini movie. It's going to be really great this semester. This year.
Yeah, I heard that as well, PJ, that was kind of the plan. And then Gap said, can we travel back in the real Enterprise and erase Discovery and Picard? Gap, you have an ally here with me, certainly. I really wish we could do that. Although
Q, make it happen, Q.
that's right. Q's supposed to be in the next season of Picard. I am aware of that. But I always have my own little theory. I like it. I think actually it was one of your friends, PJ. Anti-Trekker kind of put this out, so I don't want to claim the idea as my own, although his is a little different. It's the idea of the 3 timelines. And my version of the 3 timelines is basically that First Contact messed up the timeline because of the Borg, going back in time and kind of changing the events of Zeppelin Cochrane's first flight, into warp drive. And everything since then, including Enterprise, which has a lot of continuity errors. In fact, I think that's why a lot of fans didn't embrace Enterprise. It's certainly why I was resistant to Enterprise, because of all the continuity problems. That created another timeline. So we're not just talking about Kelvin and Prime. We're also talking about the possibility that everything basically post First Contact and the version of Enterprise that we've seen is a consequence of that timeline. So that's another way to deal with the gap. That's my little thing.
That's what's nice about writing movies. You can write any way you want to write.
Well, it's a nice thing about science fiction.
Oh yeah. You just.
I remember when Shatner was talking about trying to come back on Star Trek, and everybody was like, "Well, he's dead," and he was like, "It's science fiction. Bring me back. Give me a break.
Yeah.
You can bring me back anytime they want. It's science fiction."
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, as they say. It really isn't. There are ways to do this. There are definitely ways to do this. Now, I'm gonna go. PJ, were you ready to give your thoughts about James Bond? Because you did see it, and we
sure,
put
whatever you want.
Because I would like to hear your thoughts on the latest James Bond film, which I haven't seen. I don't think Robert's seen it either.
Oh no!
But we did promise in the description that we would get a little bit of a spoiler-free review of your thoughts on James Bond.
Now, let me just first say that sometimes in our fandom we get people warning, "Don't go see it. You gotta boycott it, whatever, etc." I think that if we're going to talk about it as, YouTubers and stuff, we cannot not see it. So I went to see it. And I got to say, the movie is actually not bad. There is a problem, obviously, with the ending of the movie. And without any spoilers, basically, I don't know how much I can say. Is there some kind of passing of the torch element in this movie? Yes, there is. Now, could they have told the story of who they're passing the torch to without taking certain steps? Yes, they could have. It's a very decisive thing that they have done. At the same time, because it's fiction, spy fiction, I do disagree a little bit with everyone else as to, like, some people are saying that this is it, that's it, this is over, Bond's dead. That's the reaction in our nerd community. I do think that even with the decisive decisions that they have made, I do think that the present are what we know as James Bond can still be revisited and then in separate films the way they always have. I don't think he's completely gone. I can't say anymore because I'm saying it. Sorry,
because you're getting into.
I apologize, everybody, but
right?
Yeah, I hear you, PJ. I see what you're talking about right there.
And I think I do too. Gap says, "Oh my God, James Bond! I unfortunately heard a spoiler. So convinced me I should watch this movie." And I guess that's the ultimate question, PJ. Are you recommending this movie to folks or not?
Listen, I can't say. I listen. I prefer Connery and Moore and Brosnan, to be honest. But the movie wasn't bad. I mean, there were a couple of aspects missing in the movie, but that we usually have in James Bond. But it wasn't bad. It's just that they wrote themselves into a corner on purpose. They wrote themselves into a corner on purpose, and that's they made the decision. There's who they're passing the torch to is interesting. I think I think it could be a very interesting story to be told. Now, does that mean that because you're passing a torch on to somebody else who you want to tell stories about, does that mean you stop telling James Bond stories? You don't necessarily have to. Even now, even after this movie, you don't necessarily have to stop telling James Bond stories, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maria has an insight. She says, make sure you are wearing comfortable clothes. It's a long one.
Yeah.
Was that your experience, PJ?
It was a long movie. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it was funny because Maria hasn't seen the movie. She's one of my co-hosts. And I was commenting the movie while I was watching it. And she couldn't believe, like, it's done, right? It's like, no, it's not done. And it's a long movie. It's a long movie.
Cool.
And Gap says, can I be a rogue and say this? Hollywood needs to stop shoving things down fans' throats. Go woke, go broke. And that's ultimately been my concern with this film. I talked to PJ and I had a conversation there, and there were just things that I saw. I think the infamous scooter scene is the thing that I saw. I mean, that was all over the place. And PJ, you told me that wasn't even that big a deal, but it's just like, it kind of reminds me of
the scooter.
The scoot,
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal in the context. Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me actually of X-Men Dark Phoenix. And X-Men Dark Phoenix, I think I think it was really affected by that X-Woman comment that they decided to put in the trailer. And then I heard people that actually saw the movie said, in the context of the movie, it's not that big a deal. But the fact that they decided to put it in the trailer really turned a lot of people off. You know what I mean? And basically said, and I was one of them. I was like, when I saw that X-Woman comment, I was just like, I don't want anything to do with this movie. Plus, to be honest with you, I felt like Fox was kind of losing a lot of momentum before that anyway. But,
can I just answer Gap's comment about he says that James Bond should be a male. And until you watch it, you're not really going to understand what I'm saying. But basically, I agree. James Bond should always be a male. But can you tell the story of another spy? You could tell a story of another spy in their own expanded universe story movie.
I think James Bond is one of those characters that you can really make that argument that he is sort of intrinsically male, and that it's kind of not James Bond if it's Jane Bond. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I think you can really make that argument. There are some characters where I can see making the argument that maybe the gender really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Really, it's not that big a deal. It's not really intrinsic to the character. You think of a lot of superheroes. A lot of superheroes have a female equivalent, right? There's Superman and there's Supergirl, right? That there's an example right there. And so it's like there isn't necessarily something 100% intrinsic in that the character has to be male in that sense, right? But with James Bond, I do feel the argument is a lot stronger to say that's an intrinsically male character, and you really kind of lose something once it's not,
If I can give a Seth MacFarlane, you go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say something kind of weird, but when you said Superman and Supergirl, well, how many Supergirl movies were there?
There's one. There was one.
There we go.
I mean, yeah,
I'm not trying to crash parties here, but it's kind of, nobody wants to go down that road. You know what I mean?
Well, Motz is going there. He says, "What about Jamie Bond?"
Yeah,
Motz, you're really going for the jugular there.
There's
Jamie
girls.
Bond.
Hey, there's
the non-binary Bond.
Hey, there's girls named Jimmy. You can call it James, whatever you want. So,
and by the way, Nate, I think is hitting what I'm saying, which is he said they should have James Bond and they can have Jane Bond, right? So
Sure,
it's like you
why
have
not?
Superman and you have Supergirl, right?
That's right.
You have Batman and you have Batgirl, right? You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
Now there's a Batwoman too. But it's like, you can do that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's been done forever. You know what I mean? It's been done since the
I
beginning.
support it. I support it 100%.
The original Captain Marvel, who they call Shazam, they always had Mary Marvel too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like you can do that. You can have sort of a female version of the character without destroying the male version of the character and erasing them. I think that's what people get upset about, right?
That's a tricky part. Yeah.
And if you had somebody like, if giving like a Seth MacFarlane, and I don't want to speak for Seth MacFarlane, but I'm just saying, like, if you had somebody like Seth, one of the things that's great about Seth is like he can be liberating and progressive and all about equality without doing any damage to story. And like you guys said, like we can go there, but we don't have to hurt anything. We don't have to.
That's right. Well, yeah, hurt anybody. Sure. Yeah. That's right.
And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to is this: as long as the story's good, you know what I mean? You can get away with a lot, but when you start compromising the story for an agenda, that's when I think you start having problems.
Well,
you compromise the quality of the story,
comedy
to promote an agenda.
Comedy, you can say things like that in comedy. You can get away with it. So Seth can get away with a lot of that stuff. But when you're real serious about something and you make a remark like that, it's like, ooh, you gotta watch it, because I can't remember what was the last big thing that happened. What's that comedian that he's getting hit hard?
Chappelle. You're talking about Chappelle, I'm sure.
Chappelle. He's getting blasted. I mean, from all directions. And you know what? He just makes another joke about it. and it's like, it's funny, and people are backing off now. People are starting to back off. But again, it all comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's at the top. Those people up there, they need to get their ass whooped. That's what it is. And the public will take care of that for them.
I think the bottom line is going to take care of it for them in a lot of ways. So.
That's the public. Yep.
Just to find, because we've been touching about on Trek and Orville and James Bond. Let me just say a final comment. Every Trekkie is going to come up with the same answer to the end of the James Bond movie. Let me just say that.
Really?
Why didn't they do this? And I'm not going to say what it is, but it's related to the Borg.
Well, related to that, Maria had a relevant comment saying, "PJ, you have skills telling everything without telling nothing." Laugh out loud.
Thank you, Maria. I think you just called me a bullshit artist. But thank you, Maria.
I have the same impression, because you spoke a lot without actually saying, specifically anything. Which
I'm gonna run for politics now.
Yeah. We promised no spoilers, but I think a lot of people understand exactly what you were talking about. Gap also brings up a point. He says, and they want to take the X out of X-Men. Yeah, they want to call it mutants now, right? So that's just like,
that's right.
That very same X they're going to put into Latinx.
Yeah,
I don't get that one at all. It's like, why do you got to fool with the name? It's like, we brought that up on a previous episode. Dave and I talked about that, and it's like the X-Men has always had females in it since day one. I mean, so it was never an issue, and now they want to now they got to call it mutants. That's the rumor anyway, right?
And isn't men in the name women? Isn't it also in the same?
It is actually featured.
There are more than men.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Mott's brings up, should we recast Wonder Woman as a man? Mott's, I think that's a horrible idea. And I would say that is an example of a character that obviously is intrinsically a woman. Yeah. There is a Wonder Man. I know that there was a Wonder Man. You know what I mean? Dave, if he was here, could tell you all about him, because he knows a lot about that character. Wow. But it's like, Wonder Woman to me is obviously intrinsically female. I mean, you can't I would not want to see a male version of Wonder Woman. She's an Amazon. By definition, you can't have a male version of Wonder Woman. Amazons are women. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. So it's like there are those characters, again, that I think are intrinsically what they are. I don't think you can make that argument of every character because some of them I don't think it's that important. But in that case, yeah, I think it's very important. I can't see Wonder Woman as a guy,
Cool. Cool.
And let's see, we do have quite a few comments. I'm trying to make sure we got stuff that's relevant to the discussion. Hey, Nate says I will go on record and say I was not a fan of any of the Fox X-Men movies. Wow, Nate, I've never heard that position before because most people at least like the first two, the original X-Men, X-Men 2. I remember being blown away by the first X-Men. And then I thought X-Men 2 built upon it and did a really good job. Hated X-Men 3. Absolutely hated it. Thought it was complete garbage. The only thing I liked in it was Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I thought he actually did a really good job. Otherwise, I thought that movie was a complete train wreck and horrible. But I never heard anybody say that they didn't like any of the Fox X-Men movies. That's a position I haven't heard before. Let's see. And Gap, I think you're expressing the frustration that a lot of us have. It says, I do have the love and let be attitude. However, stop changing things, create new things. That's what this format change is all about. So you're in the right place, Gap, because that's what we're going to be doing. Future episodes of the Retro Rogues Live, we are going to be debuting new characters, a new story, an original story. And we're hoping that you're gonna join us on this journey and that you're going to dig what we're doing. And you know what? Even if you don't, you can always just watch the train wreck happen. So that's another way to market it.
Right.
All right. Maria brings up like they had the Bionic Man and Bionic Woman, and it worked.
Yeah,
that's a great example. That's a great example. You have both. You didn't have to replace Steve Austin, with the Bionic Woman. In fact, they literally coexisted. Yeah. They spun Bionic Woman off of Bionic Man. So yeah, I think that worked very, very well. I enjoyed both of those shows growing up as a kid. PJ, did you have any other comments about the James Bond film?
I just want to say that in various interviews, Daniel Craig has been asked of and I'm only saying this because it's out there. I'm not trying to spoil anything in the movie. Pierce Brosnan was asked, and he said Pierce Brosnan actually said maybe it's time for a female 007 is what he said. And Daniel Craig was asked to give advice to the next person to play Bond or 007. I'm not sure exactly the context of the question, but he said, and they obviously did not when they spoke about it. They obviously did not use they used a gender neutral term. So it looks like they've made a decision, but I want to emphasize they can always backtrack and keep telling James Bond stories. They can go both places still. I think they can still go both places. And I do want to say that a lot of people who work in the industry are saying that MGM is going to pay for this because they think that MGM has shot themselves in the foot.
Right.
They're gonna get a lot less money from if they only go down and do movies about the person who's been passed the torch, and they don't do more James Bond movies, they will be shooting themselves in the foot. That's what a lot of people in the industry are saying.
Right.
Well, the audience will decide, as we were mentioning. Now, I did want to touch on another thing that was going on in the industry recently. I have in the description, so I want to make sure that we cover it, and it does sort of relate to what we've been talking about. This is a Variety article. It's from October 18th, and the title reads, Disney delays Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4, Black Panther sequel, and Indiana Jones 5, I'm sorry. It says Marvel fans prepare to wait a little bit longer to see Doctor Strange, Thor, and Black Panther return to theaters. It says Disney has delayed release plans for several upcoming films, including Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That is going from March 25th to May 6th. Thor: Love and Thunder is going from May 6th to July 8th. And Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is going from July 8th to November 11th. With the Black Panther sequel jumping to November, The Marvels has been postponed to early 2023. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, hope I'm pronouncing that right. That was bumped from February 17th to July 28th, 2023. It says, along with the deluge of Marvel delays, Disney has moved the 5th Indiana Jones installment back nearly a year. The still untitled film starring Harrison Ford as the fedora-wearing swashbuckling archaeologist will open on June 30th, 2023, instead of July 29th, 2022. Now, we've been seeing a lot of these delays because of the pandemic. I mean, that's fairly obvious. But it feels like we were starting to get back to normal at least a little bit. I mean, James Bond is a good example of that. And that's one of those kind of rare examples of an actual like theater exclusive. Venom 2 is also a theater exclusive. It wasn't released on a streaming platform at the same time, whereas all these films will be probably. I mean, there's a good chance. I mean, because that's what Disney's been doing. They've been releasing their films in the theater and at the same time also releasing them as a premium on Disney Plus. And by the way, if anybody new to the show, I hate that model. I've told people don't support that because I feel like they're going to do that more. I hate the idea of paying a monthly fee for a streaming channel, and then I have to pay a premium on top of that for a new movie that comes out. I absolutely hate that. I say go one way or the other. But it's like I think it's interesting about all these delays, and ultimately because we're talking about Disney. What does that say about how they felt about Shang-Chi and the numbers they got for Shang-Chi and the numbers they got for Black Widow? I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on that.
No, but I'll tell you what they are doing. They're waiting to see public's what's going to happen with the public. That's what's happening. They don't want to.
But what are they waiting on at this point? Because, like I said, like Black Widow's already come out, Shang-Chi's already come out, right?
Money. It's all about money. It's. When are the people going to go to the movies? When's COVID going to be done? When's the next guy going to speak and cause a major riot? I mean, they're just that's what's happening, and that's what they live on. That they really do. The Hollywood lives on the public. Music's the same way. Music's exactly the same way. Then the hottest new group comes out, everybody runs that direction to go watch them. Meanwhile, everybody else that you think is good, they don't care about them anymore. They went to see how many people run that way, and when they see how many people run, then they go that way, and they leave everybody behind. That's Hollywood's been doing that for like forever. Music's the same way, but that's
Well, it's interesting you bring up music because music is really been affected by the pandemic because the state of the music industry now is that the concerts and merchandise are how bands, how singers actually make their money these days. They don't make any money from videos and things like that. They don't make money from CDs anymore. It's like that industry is dying. Right. So they make their money from personal appearances and they make their money from merchandise. Right. And what the argument has been, there was that lawsuit that Scarlett Johansson had, was she made the argument that they lost money, and because of the deal she had, she lost money because they released Black Widow simultaneously in the theater and also on the streaming service. It's interesting because Time Warner, what they did with their model, because they also do the same thing, except they don't add a premium. Like Dune's coming out very soon, and that's going to come out straight on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, you'll be able to watch Dune. You don't have to add any money to that. What Time Warner did was they've been paying those stars a boatload of money to keep them happy. And they've also made deals with the theaters, deals that Disney hasn't been doing. Disney's been pissing everybody off. They've been pissing off the talent, and they've been pissing off the theaters. You know what I mean? Because of this Disney premium thing. And I don't know if you have any insight into that as well, PJ. We do have a couple of comments here in the Rogues Gallery, though. Motts, of course, says he's. I'm sorry, I took. I'll go with Motts first. Motts says he's still waiting for Top Gun. That's a good point. Top Gun has been delayed like forever, and seems like feels like it's never coming out at this point. I wish Dave Beatty was here because he's a big Top Gun guy, and he's been really anticipating that movie. That one keeps getting pushed back as well. And Nate says, I think all the Disney delays is because of the strike, but Indiana Jones 5 is being delayed because they're going to rewrite the script. I had not heard that rumor. Have either one of PJ? Had you heard that?
I've never heard that.
I mean, I heard something. I didn't know if I've heard something like that, but I don't know if is it true. I mean, who knows what's a rumor, but I heard something.
You did hear something along those lines that they're actually rewriting the script,
but you hear so many things you don't know what to believe sometimes.
That's heavy. That's heavy right there.
I thought it was more because Harrison Ford got injured. Because that's what I heard, was that Harrison Ford got injured again as he did during The Force Awakens. And that's caused some of the delays is just because of Harrison's health. I mean, the guy's kind of getting up there to be doing Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? My understanding was he did hurt himself. But I think that's interesting because we've talked about the strike as something that's also possibly contributing to this beyond like the pandemic or any other concerns that these looming strikes are something that are causing these delays. That's interesting because I hadn't heard a lot about that until actually doing the show tonight. You know, I heard what I talked about earlier, but I hadn't heard that a lot of productions were actually being delayed as a result of it.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard anything about it.
And Motts brings up a little inside joke, kind of. He says, Eric likes premium movies on Disney Plus as much as he likes graded video games. We have talked about graded video games on this show. We actually went into some depth. If any of you are interested in that, I advise you to go back a couple weeks. We do a segment sometimes on this show called The Collector's Corner. And I did bring up the controversy of Wata Games and some of the conflicts of interest that are going on with Wata Games and the auction companies. Reserved Investments, that's a channel I also advocate for you to check out because he has a lot of good information on that. But I think Wata Games is doing some weird stuff. I think there's some market manipulation going on with graded video games. I will just say that.
Cool.
And
PJ,
ahead,
you have to say something?
No, I was just going to say, Dave's missing a hell of a show. So I'll tell you what, he is. I hope he's having a good time. Hope he's out there, you know.
I hope he's not even thinking about this show right now. He deserves a vacation. He needs a vacation. I hope he's not even thinking about the show right now.
That's a good point. But still we miss him. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But
hey, Dave, enjoy that pina colada on the beach.
He'll be back next week. So
catch those waves and shake your hips at those little parties they throw out there. Yeah.
But PJ, I felt like you were about to say something, and I kind of interrupted you with some of the comments.
No, I was I just like going back to the whole Orville's, and I don't mean to go back to the Orville, but I do think that a lot of they saw the strike coming. They even saw like a really bad strike situation coming. So I think the studios have braced for a worst case scenario. I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about Dune. I saw it last month. I saw it in Europe, and I was impressed. Just throwing that out there.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Jane threw out there that you said Dune is showing tonight on HBO. So for those of you that have HBO Max, which I do, I have HBO Max because I have AT&T. You can watch it tonight. And one thing I brought up that I didn't realize, PJ, and I brought it up I think last week. It's been out in Europe for like a month or two or something like that. It's been out in Europe for a long time.
Yeah. I gotta say, one of the first things that comes to mind. What's his name? The guy from Star Wars who was in Dune. Is it Jason Isaacs?
Yes, that sounds right. Poe, right?
Poe, yeah, Poe. One of the first things that comes to mind when you see Dune is what a misuse of this actor by in the Star Wars trilogy. He's great. I thought he was great.
I think they misused every single actor in the Disney Wars. The only film I liked was Rogue One. And I do like to throw that out there that if you think I'm just a Disney hater, I actually really liked Rogue One. Again, I own it. That's always high praise for me. I have a very small Blu-ray DVD collection in my house. I own Rogue One. I really liked it, but the rest of Disney Wars, I think, is complete garbage. And you talk about, like you were saying, misusing the actors. I think they misused everybody. They misused Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, it's just I think that they misused the actors all over the place. So there's only so much you can do with the script, right?
Do you guys think? Do you guys think that Harrison Ford, very much in the way that he asked for Harrison, but it was a little different because he asked that Han Solo be killed off because he doesn't want to play him again. But at the same time, there's this thing where he says he doesn't want anybody else to play Indiana Jones, at least at his as an adult, as a fully, maybe they can do junior shows, whatever. But
I hadn't heard that.
He doesn't want to play. Like, what is he forcing, or is him and Kathleen Kennedy the perfect storm to get rid of Indiana Jones forever? Is the question.
Could be. Yep.
Well, the young Indiana Jones concept is nothing new. They introduced it, obviously, in the third film, in The Last Crusade. River Phoenix played a young Indiana Jones. And then they actually had the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. For a lot of people might not even remember that.
Yeah.
And that had a little boy version of Indiana Jones. And it had a sort of younger River Phoenix replacement age Indiana Jones. And then they had an old Indiana Jones.
No.
And none of them were Harrison Ford.
It's all part of it.
It's not exactly a new thing.
Well,
they did it before. And I actually liked the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I think I was one of the only people that did, because that was not a long-lasting show.
It's all part of the contract, too. It's all part of what they negotiate now for later. So a lot of people don't know that. And when you sign that piece of paper, your lawyer, they got $1 million lawyers, they put in the little real fine print. Hey, later on when he gets old, don't mess with this dude because we'll turn it on you guys, the public, and it'll collapse. So they do that. They do that stuff on purpose. So that was a good question.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that Harrison Ford was opposed to an indie that was like supposed to be, the prime age, if you will, or whatever. Like, I just gave you examples of all these other ages that have been portrayed by other actors. So
yeah, I don't know if he used those exact words, but it seems like he's come across saying that he doesn't want other people playing Indiana Jones, basically.
That's right. And the same thing with Will Smith. He's the same way. What was the big one that he played? Independence Day. Remember they came out with the second one, and it was like okay, that was good CGI, but it's like all right. And some of the actors, they're broke. They have to go in there and make some money, and that was the end of that.
I think that's a mistake by Will Smith, by the way, because him, if he was still involved in it, who knows where that could go.
He should have been in the second one, guaranteed.
Well, Nate has a rumor. He says there's a rumor script leak about time travel in Indiana Jones 5 that will erase Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones and replace him with a Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Wow.
So I hadn't heard that rumor. I had not heard that rumor.
Doomcock broke that.
That's pretty interesting.
Doomcock broke that rumor.
I like that, Nate.
And then Mott said maybe he'll kill off Indy. I think he means Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And after they kill off Indy, they will recast Indy as a female. Mott's, I could totally see that. I could totally see that. 100% I could see that.
That's funny.
100%.
Do you realize though? Do you guys realize how that if that's the actual premise of Indiana Jones 5, do you guys realize how that type of script basically makes it impossible for anybody else to play Indiana Jones as a male?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that actually gives Harrison Ford his wish, if what you're saying is true, right? If they end up having a female version, then they could never, quote unquote, have sort of another Harrison Ford version of Indiana Jones.
And I just want to credit Doomcock for breaking that, because Doomcock was the first person to break that story.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
You know, I need to check that out. I had not seen that, so that's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't seen that. I've seen a lot of what he says about like Kathleen Kennedy and sort of the conflict over there with the Mandalorian and Favreau and all that kind of stuff, but I hadn't seen that. And by the way, Jane is backing me up a little bit. She says, I liked the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I did too, Jane. I thought that was a good show. I really enjoyed it, actually. And again, there were those 3 different versions. And also Harrison Ford was on an episode. I don't know if people realize that, but Harrison Ford was on an episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. So you had 4 Indies. You had the little boy Indy, you had sort of the young man Indy, you had Harrison Ford, and you had the old man Indy. And I did see somebody pointed out that Harrison Ford is basically now like this, actually older than the actor who played the old Indy in Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Wow.
I don't know if you had seen that, but that's somebody was pointing that out. I saw on the web not too long ago. And I'm sorry, I lost it.
That's all right. What else we got out there? Who's some people commenting out there?
Oh, Maria's taken off. She says, must to poke food in my gob. I'll catch the rest on rewatch. Hugs to all in the chat. Love the panel. Maria, thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate it. We love seeing new faces in the Rogues Gallery. And I should mention, since there are some new faces, if you're confused about some of the comments, like you're like, wait a second, I didn't see that in the stream. We do a multi-stream. So some of the comments are coming from Facebook. Some of the comments are coming from YouTube. Just thought I'd point that out since I'm seeing some new faces.
Matter of fact, I have some stuff to do because I'm moving this weekend. So
yeah. I kind of promised you guys an hour, and that's always it's always what Dave and I say amongst ourselves, and we never stick to that. We never actually stick to the hour that we're supposed to be doing the show.
This has been a blast. I've been having a great time the whole time. So,
but I do want to throw this out there real quick, just because it's in the description. So if you guys, even if you can just give me a really quick reaction to this, it's kind of a hopeful note also to kind of end the show on. I don't think you were talking in the pre-show. I don't think Rob, you were even aware of this, although PJ, I know you were. So this is a BBC News article, and this is from 4 days ago. It says, Russian team back on Earth after filming first movie in space. It says a Russian film crew are back on Earth after wrapping up scenes for the first movie shot in space.
Good for them.
So this is a pretty momentous occasion. Obviously, other like documentary style films have been made in space, but this Russian director, you can see the pictures. It's a Russian director, male director. The star is a Russian female actress. You can also see the cosmonaut that I believe actually was the one who actually operated the spacecraft, the Soyuz MS-18 cruise ship that took them up there. Well, actually, I guess that's the one that took them back. But I thought this was such an interesting story. It was happening at the same time as Shatner going into space. And I feel like it got overshadowed a little bit, but I just love your thoughts. You know, what do you guys think about this film? It's called Challenge. Basically, my understanding is the premise is that it's a Russian physician is sent to the ISS, the International Space Station, because there's a problem with one of the cosmonauts, and they can't bring him down to treat him. So they have to send a doctor into space in order to treat his condition. I think it's a really interesting premise, and I thought it was really cool that they have officially done it. I mean, they wrapped it. So, you guys have any thoughts on this film? The first, I should say, like narrative film ever made in space.
I think it's awesome. I can see it all. It ain't the first time. It's going to happen multiple times now. So, yeah, I think it's great.
Did you have any thoughts, PJ?
Congrats to them. And like Robert said, it's the first time. It's going to happen a lot. Then it'll happen on the moon, and then it'll happen on Mars. And
right.
I think it'll be a curiosity. Hopefully it's well done. And congrats to them.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Obviously, in some ways it could be a gimmick. We won't know until we see the film, the quality of the film. But I do think it's really cool. We had talked about on this show earlier that Tom Cruise was trying to do the same thing. He was partnering with SpaceX to also film on the International Space Station, and these folks beat him. I think Nate hits the nail on the head. He says, okay, so now the U.S. has to be the first to film a movie on the moon. Yeah. People have actually characterized it that way, Nate, that this is a new space race. So it's kind of funny that once again the Russians beat the Americans to the punch. It's happened before, and I guess it'll happen again.
But there is one thing that did happen. They crashed their ship into the space station. You heard about that?
Crashed?
Right? They did.
Really?
Yep. They came in to meet to dock, right? And they were off like 5 millimeters, and they went boom. They went, whoa, what happened?
Really?
Yeah, it really did happen. And
there was a navigation problem.
That's right.
With the docking, actually, the cosmonaut had to actually take the controls. We talked about that last week or the week before, whenever they first went up.
Yeah, that's right.
The cosmonaut had to actually physically, manually take control of the Soyuz spacecraft because the docking procedure wasn't working. I guess there was a glitch in the communication between ground control and the actual spacecraft.
That's right.
So the cosmonaut had to take over the controls, and the ground crew actually was saying that was staged, that was just a way for the director to have more drama on the movie. That was the joke. So, yeah, there was some drama there, and apparently there was actually, it's in this article I just shared. There actually was some drama when they were coming down. There was some sort of glitch with the ISS itself, but that didn't interfere with them being able to come back in time. So apparently there was some stuff that happened, and of course there's going to be conspiracy allegations that was all staged, I'm sure.
I didn't want to say nothing. So
yeah, it's going to happen. There's people that are going to say it, so. Yeah. Gap took off, so he said good night everybody. I'll catch the rest of the stream on replay.
See you,
excellent panel and stream as usual. I just want to give a shout out to Gap because we appreciate it when you're on the show. You always have good comments. You have good insight. So we really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So I think you guys we're pretty much good to go at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for the invite. It was good. I had a great time. Thank you guys.
Oh, yeah, it was a blast.
I really appreciate you guys coming on here. I don't really enjoy doing the show solo. I've had to, once or twice in the past, and it's just not the same without having some other co-hosts.
Oh, you just call us up. We'll jump in.
Yeah, I appreciate. Well, you're going to be jumping in a lot, Robert, because you're stuck. You got to be promoting this stuff. But obviously, PJ, we've been talking to you about coming on Orville Nation, having you back on to cover some of the stuff that we're going to be doing. So we hope that you're going to be on board with that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Anytime.
And PJ, if you still want to, eventually later on, jump in with the old Marble man out there that likes to read. God dang it! What's his name?
The guy who played Pike.
Yeah, Pike. He's also the Marble man. Is that right, Eric?
Oh, he's the Marlboro man?
Is it the Marble man or the Winston?
I forgot that one. Yeah, I remember something about that. I forgot. Hey, like I said, Rob. Actually, I've been trying to hook up PJ with Russell.
Yeah.
Our director, because Russ will know all that stuff. Russ will know all that stuff because he knows his actors. He really does.
You know
and him
what?
and Sean are actually friends. So
if you want to do that, but
Russ
I'll tell you
all
what.
that stuff.
PJ, where are you located at?
I move around a lot. I'm usually in New York, but sometimes I'm in Europe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's all over. He's all over the globe.
We gotta get you. Yeah, we gotta get you in front of Russ.
Are you on Twitter, Rob?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm but I don't really go on there. Yeah,
well, if you do, DM me if you go on there.
Yeah, I'm mostly on Facebook all the time.
Okay.
No problem. Is it just the way it's spelled here?
Yeah, Orville Nation. Just Orville Nation.
I'll make sure that you got all of his information, everything like that, Rob. So
okay, I just wrote it down. Anyways,
I do also want to connect Eric. I am going to go ahead and connect you to Stephen Walton because I do think you guys have a lot of stuff to talk about.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that he was commenting on the show. We always like to see new faces in the Rogues Gallery, even faces that I'm familiar with because I am familiar with this show. So I want to thank everybody who participated tonight. PJ, did you want to promote anything, upcoming show or anything like that?
Well, we do have coming up. We have a stream coming up for 2 from the character 2 from Dark Matter, for Melissa's character, and obviously Melissa O'Neill, the same actress. She has donated her stuff from the series Dark Matter, which we're going to be auctioning off. We're going to be doing, a raffle for Rambling Canuck, who's going through his kidney replacement. Melissa was very kind, and we're going to have a big Dark Matter celebration. Of course, Dark Matter is the Dark Matter month. October is Dark Matter month on Orville Nation. And Robert, I don't know if you know this, but we actually got to rewatch all of Dark Matter with its creator, with Joe Malazzi, Stargate executive producer Joe Malazzi. That was a real treat. And so we are waiting now for the great news because Joe has pitched the continuation of Dark Matter in a miniseries, and we're kind of waiting to see if that gets picked up or not. So
wow, cool.
That's awesome. And obviously, if you're a Dark Matter fan, you're going to want to check out those replays, those reruns of those episodes that you did because you went into like a real deep dive of Dark Matter with the creator of the show. So
yeah, and I would like to, maybe we can talk more about that someday because Sci-Fi really hosed over, Dark Matter. Dark Matter had no advertising budget. When Dark Matter was on Sci-Fi Channel, they wouldn't get slots for adverts. They wouldn't get promotion the way other shows would get. For whatever reason it was, they just thought Joe was awesome, didn't need any help with marketing, and they they didn't give them much marketing. So there's a whole bunch of people out there who've never been exposed to Dark Matter, and now it's on Netflix. And hopefully, I think Joe hasn't said anything, but hopefully it's Netflix who picks it up and gives us a mini series and starts that up again. It's a very underappreciated show.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's one that I never really got to check out very much, to be honest with you. Nate has a hashtag there. It says Dark Matters Session 4.
Season 4 is supposed to say, yeah.
So,
thanks, Nate.
But if you are a Dark Matters fan, you probably know it already. But PJ did a lot of stuff on that, so definitely check it out. You did some good stuff there, and it's also nice that you guys are involved with this charity for Rambling Canuck that needs some help. So that's always nice to hear as well.
Good enough.
Again, I do want to thank my guest co-hosts tonight, PJ from Orville Nation. Please check out Orville Nation. I feel like PJ is a real leader in the community and a uniter, and we need more people like him in the community. And I count him as a friend. So I really appreciate it. And of course, I appreciate my partner, the great Robert Mcveigh. the chief executive officer of Bad Bob
Yeah,
Productions.
baby.
We definitely hope to talk more about our Hollywood adventures on the show, and of course, this project that we were doing with Dave Beatty. And speaking of Dave Beatty, I would be remiss if I did not mention his T-shirt company, which is an official sponsor of the show. That's Kirby Tees. That is also the official source of Retro Rogues T-shirts and memorabilia. So please check out Dave's website there, Kirby Tees, KIRBYTS.com. A lot of good stuff on there. In fact, I am wearing the Retro Rogue shirt right now that was made by Kirby Tees. And I specifically.
Can we see it better?
What's that?
Can we see it better?
It's a little washed out, but yeah.
There you go.
There
That's
you go.
cool.
There you
That's
go.
cool.
So,
I like that.
and he made some shirts for Bad Bob Productions as well. Does great work. I definitely want to make sure that I promote his company on the air because he's not here to do it himself. But he'll be back next week and he'll be promoting it again. So, and as for me, I'm most active on Twitter. You can find me there at BassGod14, at BassGod14. My DMs are wide open. I always can take suggestions about topics on the show from people. I'm open book as far as that's concerned. That's the official YouTube. That's the official Twitch. So if you comment on those platforms, more likely than not, I'm the one that's going to respond to you. And I love comments and I love to interact with folks. We've got a few comments here. We've got David Mott says that the shirt is not washed out. It is vintage. Thank you for the save, Mott. That's why I love the Rogues Gallery, because you always keep me honest. Jackie came in late and she says, "Hi, gentlemen. Great show tonight." Thank you, Jackie. We really appreciate that.
Thanks, Jackie.
Appreciate your comments. And Nate says, "This was fun. Base God 14, Bad Bob PJ, you guys are awesome." And we've got Jane, who of course is David Beatty's mom. She says, "Been a great panel." And we're going to go ahead and leave her with the last
Thank you, Jane.
word. Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, Jen.